Illuminati Squatty Potty Podcast.
No, I said you went and got a new mandolin.
Oh, yeah. Right here. I'm totally not prepared to show you. I swear I'm not prepared. Check this thing out. You got me a gig bag, dude. Super nice.
That's awesome, dude. Would you still have your old one?
Yeah. Illuminati Squatty Potty Podcast.
I was waiting for you. This is my recording area right now, so I just have my guitar right there.
7-string, nice.
Yeah, I've been working on shit for Go Gotham and some solos I've been writing. So
I was watching your streaming last night. That was fun.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I sat there for a long time and watched it, man.
Yeah, we were just talking shit.
Yeah, it was fun.
That game before. Yeah. They're doing it again tonight too. John, my other guitarist, he's really good. He's you ever played Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6? Those old school games. It's the same game. Like it was called Final Fantasy 3 over here in the US and Final Fantasy 6 in Japan. But it's like got a really popular soundtrack. So he's just taking a random song off the soundtrack and he's gonna make a metal version of it and do like drums and everything over top of it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, they do a different thing like that every night. Our drummer cooks. He's a chef, so Jai.
Professional chef.
He's that's what he does for a living. I think he's like a line cook or something. He's not like the head chef or anything like that, but he can cook really good.
Yeah.
And Jai does kind of everything. Like last time he took like a scene from a movie and did like metal gutturals over it and did all the sound effects over it. And I think it was like the scene from Lord of the Rings where the guy's riding on the horse in front of I don't know Lord of the Rings that well, so I couldn't really describe the scene, but it was pretty funny. And then the time before that, he got in this program called Blender, which is a sculpting program. And he
clay sculpting?
Basically, it's like on the computer, like a digital sculpting. And he sculpted a big veiny dick, but during it, he got so trashed. Like he was taking a shot like every time he forgot to like switch his tool back or something like that. He got so trashed, he ended up just falling asleep on the stream. It's like we had
on the stream,
yeah, just like this, just conked out, bro. We had to like call his girl to like go get him to like wake his ass up so we didn't get kicked off Twitch because they'll kick you off of Twitch for that, man. Getting that smash and like falling asleep. So yeah, it's always pretty entertaining.
That's fun.
Yeah, go Gotham TV if you want to watch some ridiculous shit on Twitch.
Yeah, I was watching when y'all were in that electric room. The floor was electric.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and before that, you found the dead parachute guy. That's what I was watching.
What was your name in there?
Nifty Jiffy.
Oh, that was you.
Yep.
I wasn't really paying attention to chat. Like, I had the computer off to the side, so I saw like probably after. They had like one person watching like, almost 1 a.m. with me and Jai, and I was like, oh shit, it's time for bed. But yeah, man. Anyway, what's been up?
Not much, man. Researching for this podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna research the occult, and then it was just too broad of a subject for me, I guess. Like, such a noob with this stuff, so. I don't know if you got something on that, but I did look into Bohemian Grove, which is pretty interesting. So we can talk about that. I don't know how much you know about that or not, but pretty cool. I say cool, but it's interesting subject matter.
I know a little bit about it, surface stuff. I'm looking forward to see what you got. I found a lot on the history of the occult, so I got some of that to talk about. I think it'll
some of the stuff might tie together too, because like some of the rituals they do at Bohemian Grove. I mean, maybe you can tie some of that occult stuff back. Although I have two perspectives on it. Like I went and watched. I did a bunch of research online about it. Couldn't really find any books on it. There was like one book written by Mark Henson, which was the guy that went with Alex Jones to do that documentary. I forget what the name of the documentary is, but you could just type in Alex Jones Bohemian Grove documentary and it'll pull right up. But it was written by that dude, so I figured instead of just trying to track down the book because none of the libraries around here had it, and I didn't want to buy it. I just went and watched the documentary, which is like an hour and a half long. Yeah, and it was pretty interesting. Definitely some weird shit going on there. I don't know that I necessarily agree with Alex Jones' breakdown of what was going on there and the rituals he witnessed that night. Nonetheless, he saw some really crazy shit. Have you ever watched those videos?
No.
Yeah, you should go check it out. It's like I found it on like it's like a Washington Post article that had the link to the full video, and I just watched it in that. So, but yeah, I'll send you a link to it or something. But
Right
yeah,
on.
anyway.
Well, I'm loading up my information. I got to export it. So you want to go ahead and start on what you found? I'm really curious.
I mean, I got a bunch of notes I took and shit this time. See, I actually wrote stuff down instead of going off the top.
Right
But
on.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, just basically what Bohemian Grove is, it's this restricted 2,700 acre area in like Northern California, near Monterey, California, and it belongs to a private San Francisco gentlemen's club known as the Bohemian Club. And this started all the way back. Well, as far as what Bohemian, I like went kind of deep in a rabbit hole, just like what, who started this, who are Bohemians, when did this all get kicked off? And basically, in the late 1850s, young journalists, they described themselves as Bohemians. After the Civil War, it became synonymous basically with just newspaper writer. The Bohemian Club was formed in April of 1872 for journalists who just wished to promote a fraternal connection among journalists who really enjoyed fine arts. So it's basically this collection of guys that wanted to get together and basically appreciate fine arts together. Well, eventually they allowed like actual artists, like musicians, because remember, this was just a journalist club at first. They allowed musicians and artists to join up, and then, you know, basically anyone who enjoyed the arts and had greater financial resources, right? So they could buy assets. They could buy eventually they bought a club in downtown San Francisco that's still there today. That's like pretty much any other like elite gentleman's club out there, right? With like a study, a library, and, you know, all the amenities and everything. And then eventually,
what kind of club? Like I'm thinking
like a
stripper party club, but
like a men's club. You never heard of like a men's club, like the Friars Club or anything like that, which is like one for like entertainers and stuff, right? I'm sure you heard like comedians talk about it on podcasts, right? This is a club where just men go to hang out, and usually they have like gyms and stuff, but and spas, I guess. I don't fucking know, but just a place for men to go and hang out and then get catered to.
Right on.
But anyway, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, they ended up inviting all these other people who just appreciated the arts to come and join in with them, and that was it. Eventually, soon after that happened, the wealthy ended up taking over and controlling the club, right? And not just journalists who appreciated arts; it was anyone who appreciated the fine arts that had financial resources. So they ended up forming the Bohemian Club, purchasing assets, and like I said, downtown San Francisco, and then eventually bought Bohemian Grove. And basically every year in mid-July, so probably just this past year, I don't know if coronavirus killed their little get-together or not.
Probably not.
They had this encampment that they do where all these members come together and meet in the middle of the woods up in Northern California, and they have it's basically a getaway, right? It's not like a fraternal getaway where it's very private, right? They do plays, which I'll kind of go into detail later on, right? And they drink a lot, and they just get into some crazy shit from what I understand. But it's all like the people who are members of this club are all super elite, like CEOs, bankers, presidents, very, very high ranking individuals, kind of like what we were talking about on the last podcast with the Skull and Bones Club, right? That caliber of individual. And it's a male dominated club. Women are allowed to come in with members during the day, but after 9:30 p.m., no women are allowed on the property. So that's a thing they got going on. Of course, all of these organizations are like men's only, right? And yeah, so I mean, kind of the the whole conspiracy and the thing that Alex Jones got into is one of the rituals they do called the cremation of the care, or cremation of care, I believe it's called. And supposedly, you know, what Alex Jones thought he witnessed that night when he broke into the Bohemian Grove was
See, he broke in.
effigy. Yeah, he snuck in. I say broke in. He snuck in through past the gate. Which, by the way, it's a very secretive club, right? They have Secret Service guarding it because obviously they have ex-presidents and everyone that are members. They have the local police, and then they have, you know, just regular local guards that they just hire for that. And so it's very hard to get into. In fact, in 2008, a Vanity Fair journalist tried to get into it recently, and I think they got like caught and arrested and shit like that. So it's not recommended anymore. But back in 2000, Alex Jones pulled it off. He basically snuck in like a half mile away from the and went through the woods a half mile away from the grove, and then got to the parking lot and just acted like he was one of the Bohemians, and hung around all day with like a hidden camera, you know, just kind of he kept getting questioned about who he was with. And back then, I guess Bush was president, and he said he was with the Hillbillies because they had Texas accents and everything. And I guess that's an I don't know what the Hillbillies are, but I guess it's like some organization affiliated with the Bushes. But yeah, so that's how he got in and kind of stayed under wraps and was able to do the whole thing, film the whole thing. But yeah, so he broke in, he saw this cremation of care ceremony, and what he thought he was witnessing was basically a effigy of a human sacrifice in front of the statue, this big owl statue known as what he thought was Moloch, right? And they do this whole big production with people with robes carrying a body out, and they burn what looks like a shrouded body. So, you know, I kind of dug into it a little bit more and kind of what all that means. They typically do that. You hear that?
No.
It's like a fucking ice cream truck blasting music in my neighborhood behind me. Sorry, but yeah, they do these. The whole idea, I think, behind what the club is supposed to be, and like what the media will tell you it is just a place for the elite of the elite to be able to go and just let loose and not be under scrutiny. In fact, their motto is weaving spiders come not here, which implies that concerns and business deals aren't supposed to take place inside of the Bohemian Grove. It's supposed to just be a getaway, like a summer getaway for them to go and chill and drink, be able to go and like piss in the woods and just kind of do whatever, like just hang out. And that play that Alex Jones witnessed that night, the cremation of care, is kind of the play that kicks off the whole weekend in July. And what it's supposed to symbolize, I believe, is where I think Alex Jones got it wrong is what he understood as care, right? Because they talk, if you go look up the transcript of the play, or when you go watch that video, they're arguing with this character called the Dole, that they're basically wanting to kill or cremate the Dole care. Huh?
The audio is breaking up in this short spot. Can you say that part again?
I said basically they have this character that they symbolize called the dull care that they are trying to get rid of. So they end up burning them at the end of the play. And what care, you know, what I think Alex Jones interpreted care as is like they're cares for people or care of the world. But back then in the late 1800s and early 1900s, what they had a totally different definition of care. It actually meant anxiety or anxiousness. So the kind of idea behind the play is that they burn this care character and let go of all their anxieties for the summer, for that weekend getaway.
They burned it.
Burn it. And it's in the form of like, it looks like a shrouded person that they carry out, right? And it's a talking character in the play that they end up burning. But, you know, if you go and ask probably them what it means to them, that's what they would tell you. It's a silly play that they do to kick off the weekend of festivities, and it just symbolizes just letting go of your worries, letting go of your anxieties, letting go of your care, right? But back in, it's all in old 1800 language. because they tried to keep the play the same for the most part over the years. And they just have tiny variations of it, but they've kept it the same since the early 1800s. So the language and everything used in it is that of that early time period. Now, Alex Jones says that they're burning this effigy in front of the owl Moloch, which if you look at what that is, Moloch is, let me see if I can get my notes on that because I'm going to fuck this up. It's the biblical name of the Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice through fire or water. I mean, fire or war, not water. So, sure, if you look at that ritual and what Alex Jones thought he was seeing was that this big owl that they're burning this body in front of, and this owl is representative of Moloch, who is literally this god that wants you to sacrifice your children to them. It looks like they're performing a satanic ritual out in the middle of the redwoods. And who, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's right, but I'm just trying to look at both interpretations of it and both explanations of it, both kind of the conspiratorial one that Alex Jones takes on, and you know what another possibility could be.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
The history of Moloch that I found has to do with Solomon. Maybe I can get more into that later. The wisdom of Solomon. He was one of the most significant figures in shaping civilization from the earliest times. The most significant figures in shaping of civilizations were the priest kings. They were versed in moral law of man and the arcane lore of the mysteries, like the Orpheus mysteries, and the Delos mysteries, Dephos mysteries. Dang it, I forget those words. But Solomon had strayed on the dark path under baleful influence of a pharaoh's daughter, who seduced them into serving Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonian, and Moloch, the god of the Ammonites, with ritual sacrifice to their idols. But you said it was the Canaanites that you found, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be used in both, but same principle, right? This goddess of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he thought he was witnessing, was that them and this goddess of this effigy. So he actually said in the documentary that he didn't think they were actually sacrificing a human, that it was just an effigy of a human, right? But later on,
wood,
later on, after the documentary, he goes on to speculate that he could have potentially witnessed a human sacrifice that night. So I went looking up more about Moloch, and strangely, I couldn't find any other depictions of Moloch, and maybe I didn't look hard enough, but as an owl anywhere other than in reference to Bohemian Grove tied to Alex Jones. Every other depiction of Moloch I saw was a bull's head on a man's body. Had still kind of similar looking, body, but with the horns coming out in the statue in the woods, but it wasn't an owl. And then, looking further into it, that owl could have, what I found reference to on the internet, the owl is a reference to Minerva, which is the goddess of wisdom and arts. So if you go look up Minerva, you'll find an owl associated with, I think, Athena, from Greek mythology. And it's a representative of wisdom and arts, which would make sense if you think about it. If this whole club, Bohemian Club, is based on the appreciation of fine arts, right? Which is why they kick off this whole celebration in the woods with a fine, this ancient play that's been around since the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they
which is really
burn.
It's like a ritual. The play is really like a ritual.
Kick it off. And then they have other plays and shit they do throughout the rest of the summer. They have what they call, the rest of the weekends, they have called high jinks plays, low jinks plays. Let's see, I actually had a page pull up on that. So
I think that's interesting to call it a fine arts thing, because that's really a great cover for what these plays are, which are rituals.
Now, yeah, it's definitely weird. Like they have all these different clubs with it, where there's the Skull and Bones Society at Yale, or just, Bohemian Grove Club. It's all these elites rubbing elbows, and kind of ironic. Their motto is about the weaving spiders, not being welcome there. Referring to them not doing business and stuff at the Grove. That they don't abide by that, because just the whole social structure of it all. I mean, it's going to have an influence on if you're a player in like our federal government, right? And you're a member of all this same club, and I don't know, it has to have an effect on you, right? And your policy decision making process and all that stuff.
Being part of that.
To say it doesn't, to say there's some conspiracy about like all these high ranking members being members of these secret organizations is not going to have an effect on their actual jobs, enforcing policy and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. To me, it seems like it would.
You mean being a part of that whole...
Being a part of this. They say that, like, hey, they're leaving their job at the door when they go to this place at the Bohemian Grove, and they're there to just let loose and have fun and, be able to cut loose in the middle of the summer. To say that that's you're not going to carry some of those conversations and stuff that you have during that weekend with other elites back to your real jobs. I mean, seems unlikely to me.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking earlier when you said that you're not supposed to, what was that? Spiders and serpents not welcome here. You can't do business deals there.
Their club motto is "Weaving spiders come not here." Which that implies that outside concerns and business deals or networking are to be left at the door, left outside of the Grove.
Yeah. That reminds me of what the presidents do at the golf course. It's all about fun, but there's a lot of business there.
Yeah. And then if you look at the members, right, it's like the Bushes, the Reagan and Nixon, Lawrence, William Randolph Hearst, cabinet officials, CEOs of large corporations, bankers, Taft, Hoover, Eisenhower, Clinton. They have just all the super elite of the elite people.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, like I was saying, like this, the whole conspiracy behind what Alex Jones found was that he thought that they were these elite people were having these rituals representative of human sacrifice in the middle of the woods every summer in July, and then doing other weird shit, right? Like apparently like I said, they have other plays that go on there. They have the hijinks and low-jinks and these just weird things that they get into out there.
Yeah, well, that's how business is done. Like on the golf course, they do a lot of dirty business out there because it's informal, and the White House is recorded everywhere. There's staff.
So one of the things that the Grove is known for. I'm sorry, you were cutting out. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was cutting out?
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. No, I was just saying, they can't do that same business in the White House because there's staff, there's security, there's mics, there's cameras. You can get away with a lot of the shady stuff.
When you're in the middle of the redwoods.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the redwood forest, One of the things it is known for is it housed Manhattan Project planning meetings. So apparently that was done outside of the weekend getaway, and it was private from other Bohemians. So like not just anyone could go to that. But yeah, some really important shit has definitely gone down there. That's where they decided to drop the bombs.
Damn.
Other things that were weird though that Jones found when he was out there. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just looking.
Why would that place have any connection with the Manhattan Project? There's a fly flying around me. That's why I keep rubbing myself. This little motherfucker has not left me alone.
So yeah, he found. I have no idea why it would have anything to do with the Manhattan Project. Probably something I should look further into. He said inside the Grove there were and he got footage of one of them. There's these signs, these French signs, and there's skulls, like basically kind of like the Skull and Bone Society, where there's like ornaments of death kind of everywhere, kind of scattered throughout as decorations throughout the Bohemian Grove.
That's
Seems
a
to be
weird
common theme.
Yeah, it's a weird fine arts club to be a part of.
Yeah. You know, and let's see, I kind of read through most of my notes for you, just kind of summarizing them. To gain membership, you know, you have to have at least 2 members vouch for you and vouch for your character and describe the quality that would make you a good Bohemian. Or if you're a retired member of the Bohemian, you can recruit an associate member, which allows them to get a little bit quicker membership access. So if there's someone they really want, they can get a retired member. Just kind of get some vouch for them, get the process going quicker. So one thing I found interesting looking in the history of it, you know, if you look at the club's patron saint, it's St. John of Nepomuc, who was supposedly drowned because he was the Queen of Bohemia's confessor, and he refused to divulge the confessional secrets of the Queen. So once again, hey, we're all about secrecy and keeping what happens here. Always that theme as well with these secret societies. But yeah, so that's kind of what I dug up on Bohemian Grove. Like I said, it's just interesting that once again another group of another version of the elites grouping together and just doing what they do.
I was surprised. Go ahead.
You know, the nefarious meaning that Alex Jones kind of uncovered. It is strange that they all get together and rub elbows with each other in this capacity and then go out and act like they're enemies, you know, in opposing political parties and stuff like that. It's hard for me to believe that some of that's not a show. You know, some of this socializing and stuff doesn't carry out into the real world through networking. So
yeah, I think that's
that's what I found, man. I don't know. Yeah,
that would be the whole point of it. I mean, how could you not?
Right. I don't know.
And it's really weird to theme it with all of that. I mean, Alex Jones had him on costume in these weird costumes, doing these ritualistic plays, like you said, burning that straw effigy of a figure at the end. That's just a really weird thing to be a part of as a politician.
Yeah, and then apparently also he went and talked to the locals too, and some of the other weird shit was like he found them like running around like they have reports of like people running around naked in the woods and shit, that's fucking weird. You know, who knows? Maybe they were just partying too hard and getting really drunk and going really nuts. But just you think of the elite of the elite like this. I don't know, like
they're not supposed to be into that.
Some weird behavior.
Yeah. Like they're not even supposed to like rock and roll music, much less dressing up and acting like that.
Yeah, it's definitely some weird shit. Go watch the ceremony, dude. It's definitely weird. It's called the cremation of care ceremony.
That sounds like a ritual to me. But I was surprised when I found out that Solomon had a big part to do with magic. Wait, I just saw something. As he neared the end of his life, Solomon prayed that his death might be concealed from the demons until they finished writing the grimoires, books of ritual magic that had been undertaken on his orders. Solomon turned his back on the servants, lent his staff, knelt in prayer. In that attitude, he died while the demons worked on. It doesn't sound factual, but Solomon had a huge role. The oldest surviving copy of the Key of Solomon, which I think is his book of rituals. The legend is the origin of the grimoires that bear the king's name, King of Solomon, dates back to the 1st century CE. It's called the Lemegeton, Lemegeton, or the Lesser Key of Solomon. Oh, that's the second one. And the Lemegeton, or the Lesser Key, can date back to 1500 CE. But both books were translated into a lot of languages, hand-copied centuries before the invention of the printing press. The older surviving copy dates back to the 15th century. It's kept under lock and key in the forbidden section of the British Museum. And I thought it was awesome. What's up?
Yeah, so who knows how many times that's changed over the years.
Probably a lot. I thought it was weird that the Lemegeton lists no fewer than 72 demons, because 72 is a sacred number. It has to do with solar cycle. I forget exactly what. 72, 7,200. But that's one of those numbers. But that's not what I got. I'm going to start at the beginning of what I have.
Okay.
The devil represents the dark side of human nature. This goes back to pre-Roman Church, pre-Catholic rule, because
Okay.
the Catholics basically hijacked what was the original process of magic and ritual, of raising your consciousness, and that's what paganism was. They defined it as paganism and started the witch burning, which happened in Massachusetts in 1700s. But
16, yeah.
yeah, the witch hunt started. But paganism, the evil people, they were actually practicing the true original art form of magic and raising your consciousness and spiritual practice. And it was hijacked by the Roman Church.
When you say raising your
Demonized.
consciousness and spiritual, like raising your consciousness in what sense?
Rituals and meditation.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all about your spiritual path. It was the church that came along and invented the concept of God and Satan, which I'll get into here. So the devil represents the dark side of human nature. By attributing the dark side to the devil, we effectively disown our dark human nature, passing the responsibility on and the cause of our bad human nature, passing that on to a mythical figure created by the church. This is the root of people's fear of the dark side and a lack of understanding of it in order to overcome and control it. So separating us from our dark and light side and facing it, putting it outwards, is what allowed them to weaponize those concepts and basically control people. So the first step, hold on, I missed where I was. Yeah, first believing it has nothing to do with you in the first place, but in fact is the devil.
So
So
you
that
can
is
pass your blame on and not have to
yeah.
confess your sins.
Yeah, because the original practice was it's inside. You know, sit there and you do your rituals and stuff.
Right.
And that's what Jesus was teaching. The original art form. So the original occult recognized the devil as being us, our own nature, our own dark side. The practice of ritual was harnessing our own spiritual internal power, whether it be for bad or for good. That's the difference between the devil according to the church and the devil according to authentic occultism or paganism as it existed before the Catholic Church took over. Conversely, the good in human nature is personified as God, and all the different angels are personifications of each individual attribute of positive human nature. Working the same way, authentic occultism before the Catholic rule viewed God as our positive human nature, and in ritual approached it as harnessing those specific spiritual internal attributes of ourselves, controlling them. In the Catholic modern twist, we're also not good. God is, and we cannot be good unless we surrender to him, which is very similar to the naturalist philosophies of John Locke and Jean Rousseau from Prussia we talked about in the last episode, which is the philosophy that our nature is bad and we need the state rule to teach us how to behave. And that's how the school system was implemented. So it's interesting that same game plan.
System of control
Yeah.
for the mass population rather than us trying to work to understand ourselves. As original paganism taught, they just borrowed the concepts from paganism and implemented it in a way where they could have a hierarchy.
Yeah. And I'll get to that in a second. The concept of taking over when you conquer your enemy, you take their god and you demonize their god. And that demonized version of their god becomes a new name. Beelzebub was Baalzebub, Baal. But that culture, I have the notes, that culture was taken over and their god Baalzebub was then Beelzebub. who became Satan, and they distorted it. So that's a pattern of the before and after of the culture's God after they get conquered. There's ones like the good guy, and then the second one after they get conquered is a real bad guy. So let me find where I was again. Catholic Church really is the cornerstone of humans projecting our dark side to a devil and our light side to a God. We live in fear from a devil that's trying to get us and blaming our bad behavior on demonic possession to a degree. Therefore, relying on the church, relying on the state to teach us how to be. So the church warped original occultism or paganism in a way to control us. Paul Rowland here, because he's the author of the book I got some of this from, talking about the devil and how we know of him today, it's important to know that no time in history has anyone ever actually seen a devil with his horns and tail, except in the Middle Ages. Those people were not of sound mind. But if there is a devil, where is the evidence of existence? It's not in the Bible. And then he goes into how the devil in the Bible. So in ancient civilization, writing was a sacred art for priests and kings. This is where it starts, writing. Written word, therefore, had a powerful and mysterious essence to it. It was believed that to know the name of your enemy was more powerful than the strongest weapon. So to know the names of angels and demons was essentially to have power over them. In the Old Testament and other sacred texts from the biblical era, any adversary or enemy was referred to as a Satan. Just your enemy, the other guy, adversary. Yeah, Satan was a term to define an enemy. It was never the name of a mythical horned creature. That was the church's invention to gain control. The spiritual was no longer internal and true. It was external and false. The practice of defining an enemy as a Satan is the same practice that gave origin to taking the Lord's name in vain. So if the birth name of your adversary was used commonly, how to word it? The psychic connection with them was weakened. Thus, you have less control over them because it normalizes them. It's all like subconscious and manifesting things in reality through the process of ritual and meditation. So, using God's regular name, just like we'll say it in a curse word, but just using it, his regular name, weakened your connection. So that's why it was so important for, what's his name? On the other hand, nope, not there. Yeah, the priest said it once a year in some religious
That
process.
God once a year?
The name of it. I'm getting to it here. I don't see it in the notes. I can't remember it. It's right here.
The actual name other than God for God?
Yahweh or Jehovah.
Yahweh.
It means
Gotcha.
he exists, and he would utter it once in a whisper, like every year in a ceremony, and that was it. That's how much it was respected. So you don't go in this.
So you just, like, they thought that it was such a powerful thing to even say that word, that if you used it in the wrong way, that it's going to weaken your connection with God, and bad things will come into your life.
Yeah, because originally occultism was all about subconscious and your energy in the universe. So they really protected the subconscious, and they just saved it. If you didn't throw it around,
I'm gonna turn on the light real quick. I'm still listening. You can go. I got my headphones on.
It's good lighting. It's nice and ambient. Only the priest was permitted to whisper his name once a year on the Day of Atonement. Yahweh and Jehovah. Yahweh, it was WHWH, 4 letters. And Jehovah was JHVH. 4 is a sacred number, which we can do on another episode, but the original sounds of occultic tradition, sounds, like literally the sounds, they're based on sacred geometry sounds, resonance and frequencies. There is a big emphasis on sonic frequencies that elevate your consciousness, which is why the Om is a thing, because Om goes through all the vowels, which are sacred vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. They go through all the vowels, and they would sit in the chambers, and they would do it together, and that's the frequencies would raise your consciousness. So that's where that comes from. The and there's like a specific order. I think it's Aum, A, E, I, O, U. Hey, that's how we were taught. A, E, I, O, U. But it wasn't spiritual. It was just,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Ow. Yeah.
It is.
So the importance of uttering the sound of Yahweh, which is the Lord and Creator, was a big deal. The frequency and sonic response alone has a deep effect on the psyche in those circumstances. Also, 4 in numerology, which is a big thing. Man, this motherfucking fly.
So we're gonna do a whole episode. I'm gonna have to do some diving on numerology, huh?
Yeah, we probably couldn't do a whole episode, but there's some stuff around it. Egyptian mysticism and symbolism and things like that. Yeah, so 4, I'll cover it here, but it goes through all the other numbers, 1 through 9, and then 10 up to 18 it starts getting real weird. But there's principles behind each number that relate to the existence of nature, basically. So that's why numerology is a big thing in the occult world. So 4 in numerology represents the principle of creation, because it starts with 1. When you have 1, there's a natural duality, because if that 1 exists, then its opposite exists also. So that gives you 2. And then if you have 2, there's a relationship between the 1 and the 2, you and your opposite. So that gives you 3. There's just naturally relationships. So just having 1 automatically puts you at 3. That relationship, that spiritual connection, and from there manifests reality, which is 4. So the pillars of 4 that represent supporting the earth is because the earth is the physical manifestation of the spiritual properties that cause existence. So that's like the meaning behind numerology. So,
and that's like tied to occultism, like paganism and occultism.
Yeah, but specifically here, like in rituals, you do something 3 times or 9 times, or 6 is the bad number, or 7 is a good number.
Yeah, 7, I'm not versed on numerology and kind of how all that works. So
I just read a little bit and I kind of remembered it, but it gets pretty deep. But the 4 is relevant because Yahweh and Jehovah, the original spelling was 4 letters.
Yeah.
YHWHJHVH.
I didn't know that. And then what language was that in the original?
Original Judaic.
Judaic?
Yeah, the original occultism comes from the Kabbalistic Hebrew Judaism, the original. And what we find today is the perversion of the Kabbalistic occult model. So, because they use it for bad, they don't use it for good, and they change some stuff. So, I think I get into that too. But it's really weird. I'll get into that. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, so 4 is a sacred number. Ba ba ba. Yahweh, big deal. Okay. Oh yeah. And Yahweh's original name was Tetragrammaton.
Tetragrammaton?
Yeah, that's the real
like
name.
Some sacred geometry shit.
Exactly, sacred geometry. That's where all this comes from. Sacred stuff.
It was really crazy. Well, it's not really crazy. I'm sure you've heard it already before, but just with the whole sacred geometry thing, I once again had a good buddy that did DMT for the first time recently. So I asked him, like, before he did it, I said, just try and have some paper nearby you.
I've never done it, so I don't know. For any listeners that don't know.
I don't know what you know what the chemical compound is.
Dimethyltryptamine.
Dimethyltryptamine, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically the strongest hallucinogen out there that you can do.
Yeah. It's the most common element found in all organic matter, and our pineal gland produces it daily. And it's what causes our dream states.
Yes, and
so if you can get a hold of it and smoke that, you'll skyrocket
you meet God. You meet God.
Yeah, basically.
And there's another I say edible, but like ingestible form called ayahuasca.
Yeah, that's the original.
Yeah, that's a longer, like DMT. When you smoke it, you only get what, a 15 minute trip.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca is a lot longer lasting trip. Usually performed with some shamans or someone looking over you while you do it. But basically, the ayahuasca, from my understanding, gives you some type of inhibitor that allows your body to process. You're like dealing with, like you were saying, what's naturally found, and a lot of plants and stuff out there. A lot of organic substance has DMT in it, but our bodies can't process it unless it has that inhibitor.
Mm.
Anyway, so my good buddy tried it for the first time. And I told him just kind of have a piece of paper nearby for whenever you come back and just write down what your experience was. And of course, it always involves everyone who has these experiences. Usually, it talks about this crazy geometry that they see, all these shapes. And for him, it was cubes. Yeah, for him, it was cubes. It was Rubik's cubes that were changing color. So he had all these colors and Rubik's cubes, and he said he couldn't really, that's usually people fall apart after that trying to describe the experience. But that's usually what you can get out of them, is that this sacred geometry that they see during these DMT trips, and all these ancient, occult practices and all this stuff. They have a lot of ties to that sacred geometry. It's like, man, what the fuck were these people doing? Were they sitting around smoking DMT back in the day, or doing ayahuasca?
I think they were. There's a
way.
solid theory. Goddamn fly. There's a solid theory that Moses, was it him that spoke to the burning bush? Spoke to God in the burning bush. He said a azalea bush, I believe, is the bush.
Yeah.
Fact check this, but that bush, if you burn it, it'll produce DMT. If you breathe it, you'll get high. So he went and he spoke to the burning bush. He got high on DMT. He spoke to God. He connected right with the
Acacia
source.
trees.
Acacia tree.
Revered because some varieties contain a psychedelic substance, dimethyltryptamine. That's an article from The Guardian, by the way. That's not some fucking crackpot conspiracy website. Which I guess maybe The Guardian is. I don't fucking know. But
it's probably been bought out by now. But they can't lie about it either way, because ayahuasca's caught on so much the last few years. Everyone knows about it. Ayahuasca, you make it from these two different plants. And they've been doing that in the jungle in the Amazon for thousands of years. A root and a leaf. And if you don't make it the right way, you die.
Yeah, that's fucking scary. So
It'll
I don't know
kill
if
you.
I'll ever try ayahuasca.
That lends a lot of credence to the idea that we were taught science and everything we know in agriculture in antiquity, in the pre-Diluvian area, before the Great Flood and the ice caps melting. We're taught mainstream that science and everything we know today came from the Renaissance in the 1500s. Right. But it was called the rebirth. In magic, how we know it today, and tarot cards specifically, in the Renaissance in that time, all of the different magics before were rediscovered and just amalgamated together. And then that carried on. So what we get today is like a combination of what before the Renaissance was separate things, and that went back to, it happened again when the Egyptian priesthoods and the people started to migrate into Europe, and then the third one, and they formed that community, and then the Roman Church got established, and then paganism was defined and altered. So that came together in Rome, and then it came together again and exploded what we know it today. But you can get like the best handmade tarot cards out of some city in Italy. Forgot what it was, like the place where it came from in France or Italy. Yeah, try some DMT, guys, if anybody knows where to get them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strong psychedelic, so be forewarned before you.
Yeah, don't do it and drive.
I don't think you can. I don't think that's something that's possible. I've never done it, but from what you described, you have to have someone else there with you. Because basically, He lit it in a bowl with like just a match and
It's
took
like a
one
yellow
hit.
powder.
The yellow powder. Took one hit, held it as long as he could till it felt like his lungs were gonna explode. Breathed out. He was going for three. He took two hits and like had to let that one go a little quicker and went for three. And then he said he was gone. He said he started sucking in on three, and then I think he dropped everything. He almost broke the bowl and everything like that. So yeah, I don't think it's even possible for you to, once you blast off, you're not there anymore.
Yeah, I did it once and I didn't get too good of hits. It just made me tired.
Really?
I
Damn, that's
literally
crazy.
just I felt like I smoked a cigarette. I didn't
You
I
didn't even
didn't get
blast
in.
off into
I'm also a
space.
beast.
Oh, okay.
So I need extra. Yeah, I need the extra strength.
And also, you probably, I don't know how you smoked it, but he was telling me all kind of different ways, the
Yeah,
things you want to make sure of.
we didn't do anything fancy.
All right, well, I've never done
Yeah.
it, so you're way more experienced with it than me. But I've a lot of friends who have done it and heard a lot about it, and they always, like I said, they always come back. Like one of the few things they can describe to me is all these shapes they always see, these geometric patterns.
Yeah, and that's
Him,
the
it was these
really
cubes. So
interesting part. We need to talk about sacred geometry on an episode, go through some shapes and all the relationships and how it
yeah,
relates to sound. Because if geometry and mathematical absolutes are the essence of existence and the reason things came into being, it makes a lot of sense whenever you take a strong hallucinogenic that came from the ground, like mushrooms or DMT, and you
hmm
tap into those sacred, your brain just starts creating that pattern and it starts seeing reality for what it is, which is just geometry and numbers, basically.
yeah. And I think maybe where a lot of these maybe these ancient principles and things that were passed down from religions may have came from people tripping really hard and right, and they're trying to interpret their stories. That's another thing. Like, no one does a really great job of describing their trip other than like a few foundational things, like I said, the geometric shapes. Like after that, it kind of falls apart. Like they can't like everyone's experience is described differently because they can't find the words to put it together. And they always say that. Like I don't even know how to describe it. But
They all have a common thread. Another weird thing is that, from what I understand, seeing elves is a common theme as well. And one time when I first started to smoke weed, it was with a buddy. I don't know how he got this weed, but it was so good. I hallucinated and I
what?
passed out. And he was listening to this really weird music. It was like ambient stuff. I didn't pass out I just consciously laid down and just closed my eyes. I
Yeah.
was tired of sitting, but
Yeah.
I was out. And
Uh,
I just saw these elves all in a line. I didn't know at the time elves were common in when you're hallucinating, and they were dancing like that. It
I think
was
you
really
told me
creepy.
about this back then.
Yeah, and the song that I heard was just an electric guitar on the downstroke. Dun, 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 dun. They were just dun, 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 dun. It was so trippy. And then when
And I
I
remember telling
woke
you you
up,
were full of shit when you told me that.
yeah, I was like, dude, I swear. So then I was like, Dylan, you got to wake up and snap out of this. So I came out of it, and the song was not dun 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 dun. It was just some super ambient like keyboard. It was not the song. I don't know what my brain was doing, but my brain tapped out and was like, I'm going over here now.
Or you went to the
Yeah.
DMT realm on weed.
Yeah. I don't know how you hallucinate on weed. And then I was driving home and it was drizzling, so I had water drops on my windshield, obviously. But I saw this, I think I told you this before too, the huge motorcycle that pulled into my lane and stopped. This huge chopper, dude. Big chopper. Pulled into my lane and stopped. And I'm on the back roads, where Congress starts to hit the back roads
Yeah, I know
after,
exactly what you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
that's where I was, dude. I stopped in the road. I was like, oh my God. And I was waiting for this Hell's Angel guy to walk up, but I didn't see anybody. And then, zoom, it was a Isuzu with a broken headlight. past me, and then I was like, what? You mean a huge Hell's Angel guy isn't stopping me right now?
You
Huge
just stopped
relief.
in the middle of the fucking road in this
Dude,
rural country road, like
it looked like he came into my lane and stopped. Like, there he is. Like,
I don't
oh,
think you told me
fuck.
this one.
Yeah,
You told me about the elves. I remember you telling me that story, and I was like,
yeah,
"Come on, get the fuck out of here, dude!" Like you weren't that stoned where you're,
yeah,
but that's pretty crazy.
yeah. It was. Speaking of
That's
getting
fun.
stoned, Judaism. This was my next note.
Speaking of getting
It
stoned,
it has an exoteric outer and an esoteric inner teaching. The former, what's former? The first one,
first, yeah.
so outer, comprises the customs and
No,
rituals
no, no.
which have been
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
It comprises the customs and rituals which have been performed so often and for so long that their true meaning has been lost. In the latter, the inner teaching, or esoteric, is the spiritual heart of the religion, which only the mystics claim to fully understand. The same duality applies to Christianity and Islam. So, though this is where it gets interesting for me, those who adhere to none of these traditions, but who believe that there is a golden thread of truth common to them all, take the road less traveled, a road that divides into the left and right hand path of the occultists. And our politics are structured around left and right. And
Yeah,
those who adhere to neither one of them fall into the golden thread of truth in the middle. So I thought that structure of occultism in our politics was interesting about having a left and right. And also you identify the other. If you're blue, if you're Democrat, if you're left, the red is bad. It's your adversary. It's the devil, and vice versa.
yeah,
So Satanists see themselves as the center of the universe. I got Satanism as in the original cultic. If you practice that, you'd be Satanist. So they are the center of their universe, serving their own will and achieving their own desires. They do not believe in a devil. There is too much ego for a devil to exist in the same world as a self-serving Satanist. Satanism, as it is commonly called today, is a smokescreen for black magicians who serve only themselves. They understand that magic itself is neither good or bad, black or white. It is really a transformational process by empowering the emotions to exercise your will. It is whether or not the practitioner uses these practices for good or bad that determines whether the occultist is on a left or right hand path. It is clear that occultists who seek deeper inside themselves and the nature of the universe for the sake of raising their consciousness are on a much different path than those who use the same practices as a means of exercising their will and control over others. Then there are those who do not follow these traditions, but instead know there is a golden thread of truth to them all. Like I said, similar to today's political structure.
So
So it is also
you think a lot of these satanic rituals and stuff that supposedly the elites participate in, right? If you go down that conspiratorial thread, is them exercising their ability to control their consciousness in a way that allows them to get ahead in life and control others.
yeah, they use it
And
for the bad.
then the other side of that is that you can utilize those same practices of higher consciousness to just better yourself rather than impose your will upon others.
Right.
That,
Discover the true nature of existence, the universe, your own consciousness, elevate, manifest your own
yeah.
reality. So there's
Okay.
two ways
I
to
want to make sure
use.
I kind of understood, kind of following
Yeah,
what you meant there.
yeah, that's what I'm putting down. Uh, Next fun fact. Both Black Magician and his brother, benign brother, the White Magician, purify themselves before participating in any ceremony. And both appeal to God and the angels for protection when consecrating the sacred circle with which they surround themselves. So, whether it's good or bad, they're doing the same process, basically. They're doing the same thing for the same reasons in the same way. It's all about your intention, subconscious, your conscious, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah, so black magicians and white magicians share the same curiosity about the nature of existence, and they both understand the universal laws, which are based on the premise that every human being is a microcosm, a universe in miniature. To reveal the true nature of the universe, seekers first have to explore the symbolic landscape of their own psyche, and they have to possess the courage to face what they find there. So that's where symbols become a thing. In sigils, you can actually make your own sigil. I have this book called Chaos Protocol, and it's like magic for the modern economy. It was kind of blended with economy.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught how to make your own sigil. You just, cut out stuff that you attach something to, whatever, a shape, whatever, and then you put it on your wall. And when you do your ritual or you meditate, you look at that. I mean, it's that simple, because the symbology goes into your subconscious, and if you can change your
Sets your
subconscious
intention.
energy, yeah, that's all it boils down to. It's not an actual god and devil that are shooting lightning out of their fingers at you. It's just a spiritual practice of your subconscious, ways to manifest things. But we were never taught that. We were taught the Catholic Roman version of it all, and then all this occultic stuff is just weird.
Yeah, and the Catholic Roman version of it borrowed from all this occult stuff, just twisted it up.
Mm-hmm. Classic. Getting into the Old Testament a little bit here. Adam and Eve. Oh yeah, this is about the serpent.
I just listened
Yeah.
to something about this. Go ahead.
So in the occult hidden tradition, Adam and Eve in the Old Testament, the story, it was, let me refresh this. The occult tradition, the original, because this story is in a lot of different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So just the original authentic, I'm gonna get this fly. Boom, got that motherfucker.
Need one of those salt guns, bro.
Boom. I manifested it, dude. My subconscious.
Set your
knows.
intentions.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's the one with the fly.
Look at a fly swatter you had on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Thought about it. Got that motherfucker.
What can I say? So in the original tradition, Adam and Eve was an incentive for individuals to eat of the tree of life, therefore becoming aware of their true nature and divinity. They have this realization of being mortal. If we have this realization of being mortal, we are free from the fear of death and the control of religious dogma. The serpent is a significant symbol in this story because the serpent has traditionally represented wisdom. Then comes the eagle later on as a symbol for like ancient Sumer and Assyria.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could be wrong about this, but the eagle is eating the serpent in a lot of these logos. So the hijacked version is an eagle destroying wisdom, the all-seeing eye destroying wisdom. The serpent is actually supposed to be good in opposite role.
That Aztec symbol is an eagle showing a serpent.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah, that repeats in culture. So the serpent has been demonized, which goes back to when they capture a culture, they demonize their god into a bad version, and they use that against them. In Catholicism, dude, Jesus is the God, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's also the logo. I mean, people wear the thing that he died on as the logo all the time. That's not empowering. It's a constant reminder that we won. You submit. The serpent.
I never thought about it like that, but
yeah, it's weird. Wouldn't you want like his?
So you're
logo?
saying the original teachings of Jesus was that of the what paganism was, right? Like conquering your high, like you were saying earlier in the conversation, conquering your conscience, right? Your subconscious.
Yeah.
And understanding that we all have a light and dark in us, and using plot and meditation and intention to rise to whatever occasion we need to. That was the original teachings of Jesus. And Roman Catholicism came along and said, no, this is not the way. We're gonna take this, and basically used him as their mascot, but on a on what they crucified him on.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nuts. So I've never heard that before.
Yeah, man. That reminds me of just the Catholic Church in general, how occultic it is. You go in there and all the symbolism.
Yeah, they have a serpent thing that the Pope talks into that looks real creepy.
His staff is. You ever notice the logo for hospitals? The logo for hospitals and on ambulances, dude, is the little DNA helix around the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like an occultic symbol you'll find with the Mesopotamians, or whatever, is the serpents around the staff. That's just a weird thing. Johns Hopkins University's got their little logo, and the Catholic priest, he has like the staff, which is the serpents and stuff like that. And he, how he wears that fish head, that big hat, just like that. Yeah, I just pulled it up. I just remembered about that. It's called the meter hat. The priests of Dagon, it goes back. It's not Catholic. It goes back like Mesopotamia, and the symbol of worshiping Dagon. Dagon was like a merman, which the original guy that came down is like one of the original figures. Priests of Dagon were known by their meter hat, which resembled an open mouth of a fish. The same exact hat worn even today by the Pope, as well as cardinals and bishops. All priests of Dagon and the religion that surrounds them is identical to that born in Babylon. The meter hat that is worn by Catholic priests, cardinals, and the Pope represents Dagon, the Babylonian fish god. Ancient Babylonians worshipped Dagon, the god of agriculture, plenty food, and good fortune. Babylonian priests wore a headdress that represented the worship of Cybele and Dagon. Featured an open fish mouth and the rest of the fish body forming a cloak. Wonder where the cloak comes from. When people are wearing cloaks, I don't even know. It's weird how these occultic remnants just bleed into society everywhere. I have no idea. No, it's perfect if you want people to live inside of a ritual.
If you ask the layperson, anyone else, they're like, oh no, that all came from the Catholic Church. Right? Those robes and all that symbolism. No, it was taken.
Yeah. So let me get back to my notes here. Okay. In the official version of Adam and Eve, as told by theologians, however you want to say, the snake is recast as a trickster who tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit so that man will be exiled from heaven and will thereafter be entirely dependent upon religious authority for absolution. That deliberate undermining of our divine nature and potential is surely the original sin. Yes, that's the two different versions. And the trickster is an interesting thing. Here, I'll tell you about this. Remember that Chaos Protocol book I just talked about, the magic and the economy? It's basically, in today's economy with Bitcoin and the internet, kind of details how the structure is Luciferian. Because in order to succeed, you have to be able to manipulate and seize opportunities. So you have to harness the spirit of the trickster, which in a sense is Luciferian, because the trickster is represented by the fox, think astronomically, and the serpent is also a trickster. So he put a Headless Rite ritual in the book, the Headless Rite ritual. It's like the initiation ritual. And I did it. I did it when I finished the book. I went out to the empty grass lot next to my apartments, in between, like only was a car dealership, just a big lot. And then there was a sidewalk that goes behind my apartment. So the lot meets the sidewalk, and then there's just like a tuft of trees that no one ever walks through. And then there's a fence. So there's a fence, and then these trees, and then the sidewalk, and all the grass. So I was in the
Okay.
trees, and you're supposed to face Orion, the constellation. So I had my night sky app. It was hard to find Orion. It took me a little minute. It took a minute. So you have to have a brand new bottle of rum. I didn't get Captain Morgan. I got the cheap Seagrams.
Seagrams?
Was it Seagrams?
Like you were in the trees getting drunk.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't brand new because I drank a little the night before.
Okay.
I just went with it. I figured intent is everything, so we'll go.
Right.
So I faced Orion. I said the opening thing, and then you face north, say the next thing, east, say the next, south, west, and then like Orion one more time. And every time you pour out some rum, and you also light frankincense. So I had to go find some frankincense. But I did this ritual, and it just initiates you into, I don't know, initiation of the occult, I guess. And he mentioned in the book, it's very common after you do these rituals to see boxes in your dreams. So I had a migraine doing the ritual. Afterwards, I went back and I took a nap in my apartment. I shit you not. I had a dream. Dude, I swear. I had a dream. 3 foxes were running down that fence line with their nose in the air, sniffing, right to where I did the ritual. And then I woke up. I was like, what the fuck?
But how much of that was your subconscious manifesting what you had read in that book about seeing foxes after you saw that?
It very well could have been.
Don't mean to play the skeptic in all these conversations, but
no, I'm with you. I mean, it could have been, but you know, just like you see elves when you hallucinate. I saw them. See fractals.
It's true.
People see them.
But that could be the same thing with the elves, though. Like you have people. Well, you did know, so you actually had personal experience with that. And I knew you from back then. And I knew how green you were to basically all of this shit because you were just coming out of like being hardcore on religion, right when you had started doing like smoking weed and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because of the friends you grew up around, and so like I know you didn't have a lot of experience with psychedelics and
I didn't know
you were definitely highly uninitiated when it came to that shit.
Yeah, but I didn't know that you saw elves at that time. I saw elves.
Right.
That was like 10 years later. It was like a year ago I found that out that that's a common thing.
Yeah.
But just saying, and that was, but what else is weird? I saw 3 foxes. 3 is a number. It's a sacred
number. So I'm not up on my numerology. I haven't done my research on that yet. So I'm going to take your word for that. But
yeah, but it was weird because also after the ritual, there were some serendipitous things that came together in life. It's a couple of things. I don't want to read too much into it, but
so it's just what's the ritual supposed to do for you? You say it's just an initiation ritual so that you can utilize these occult rituals.
I think it's just priming your subconscious for tapping in. It's to prove that it's to prove your intent, just to initiate it. Does that make sense?
Kinda. I kind of get where you're coming from.
I'd have to read that book again, which I should have goddamn did before this podcast. I didn't realize. I forgot about it. But yeah, just the cool story there about doing my first Headless Rite ritual.
That's cool.
So I think that's all for that part. Yeah, so in the Torah, the Hebrew book of the law, Satan is a figure. I have I have some examples here about Satan being depicted in the different books of the Bible. And in the Torah, Satan is an appellation used to denote any historical figure opposed to the Semitic people. So it's used properly there in that it's just an adversary. In Numbers 22:32, Satan is the name given to an angel who opposes Balaam's ill-advised journey. So another adversary. Can you hear that dog barking?
A little bit. It's not an issue.
Okay. Chronicles, in the book of Chronicles, he is blamed for leading King David astray. Ambiguous and obscure allusions to the devil were only found in the Old Testament in retrospect.
So in the New Testament, there's no mentions.
Yeah, in the Old Testament, it ex posto facto. guilty by association in retrospect, looking back. So that's how people have become to associate the devil with the serpent, is because of later on in the Old Testament, the way it's connected.
Mm.
And it talks about that Revelation somewhere up here. The notion of Satan as an adversary of God filtered into Judaic mythology during the 3rd and 2nd centuries as a consequence of the Persian concept of dualism. Dualistic thinking decreed that there is not one God but two, one benevolent and one demonic. The evil deity was always on the side of your enemy, so the devil, it could be said, was always someone else's god. That was the origin of the hierarchy of hell, and I have a hard time fully understanding this, but it's the origin of the hierarchy of hell, a list of demons and their functions that appeared in early magical texts, such as the Testament of Solomon. So there's Solomon. Let me read that again. Origin of the hierarchy of hell, a list of demons. Evil deity was always on the side of your enemy. So somehow the hierarchy of hell comes from Testament of Solomon.
Mm.
Yeah. Here we go. The Beelzebub. This is what I was talking about. In all these books, the evil spirits were named after ancient deities whose worshippers had been conquered and their gods demonized. Beelzebub, the prince of devils, had been Baalzebub, god of the Philistines. Ashtaroth was the dark goddess of the Phoenicians, and Baal, worship of Baal, that's the sun god or something. Ashtaroth was
These are all pagan gods, right?
Yeah. Ashtaroth, the dark goddess of the Phoenicians. Baal was the bloodthirsty deity to whom the Canaanites sacrificed burnt offerings, namely children. Worship of Baal. That's what shows up a lot as Baphomet.
How do you spell Baal?
Baal. And then there were some other entities to explain illnesses, but still no actual devil with horns. In the book of Genesis, the serpent that tempts Eve to commit the first sin is merely a snake, not a Satan in disguise. That particular twist comes from Revelation 20, verse 2 in the New Testament. Thereby
this is what Baal looks like.
You have screen sharing on yours?
Yeah.
Are you going to screen share? Oh, that'd be so sweet.
Oh, never mind. It won't do it while it's recording.
And what's he look like? Is that
it's basically it's like a three-headed thing with a cat on one side, like a guy in the middle with these pointy elf-looking ears and a crown, a frog on the other side, and the body is that of a spider.
Interesting.
Pretty crazy.
What was that thing from Bohemian Grove? There's no weaving of the spider's webs here.
I was looking. That's why I looked it up, right? Because I'm trying to find that thread of the owl being, representative of this sacrificial god. That somehow, I don't know how the fuck Alex Jones tied that together.
I got it
unless I'm just missing something.
I got it in here.
But
Moloch.
Because I couldn't find anywhere Moloch was a.
This is connected to the Key of Solomon and the Lemegeton. All of them are described in detail, cataloged by a supernatural bug hunter. Let me get to it. More than half of the demons serve to teach the magicians subjects such as mathematics, philosophy, astrology, astronomy, logic, languages, arts, and ethics. I think this is talking about the Lemegeton. Getting to Moloch. It's connected here. This is why it is thought to be dangerous to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs while dabbling into the occult. Okay, let me read that.
That sounds crazy.
There are also demons who can be commanded to labor as servants, locating personal objects. Other herbs acted as emetics, that the magician was purged of impurities before he undertook a period of fasting, abstinence, and chastity. This was crucial because it was believed that an unclean spirit existed on a lower plane of existence than human beings. So magicians could reduce the risk of contamination or possession by raising their vibration to a higher level by purification. That's why it's thought to be dangerous to be under the influence, dabbling in the occult. Which is basically what everybody does now because they're not educated in the occult, nor are they trying to practice it with respect, but they're doing hardcore hallucinogenics and putting themselves in these deep mind states. So I wonder if that has a big play on, if you're occultic thinking about the masses being possessed, just get them all to do drugs and also not give a shit about the occult. Unclean spirits just partying. Moloch.
I was still looking for other examples of Moloch, and
I found it here.
This. Okay.
What you got?
Go ahead.
Solomon's demons. According to legend, the good spirits tended Solomon's gardens, sculpted statues from quarried stone, spun his carpets. But there were other spirits he was reputed to have had concourse. With the aid of power invested in him by a magic ring, Solomon commanded the obedience of demons.
72 of them, right?
Yeah, to whom? Well, that was in the Lemegeton, 72 demons, 72. Yeah. And it was the demons where he got his extraordinary wisdom. These demons were confined within the palace walls by the power of the ring, and they ate with the rest of the household. No doubt these claims were made by those who were jealous of Solomon's wealth. So this is where Moloch comes in. For all his wisdom, Solomon strayed on the dark path under the baleful influence of a pharaoh's daughter, who seduced him into serving Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Moloch, the god of the Ammonites, with ritual sacrifice. So he joined the dark side and started worshiping Moloch. And then there's a picture right under 63rd demon from the Lemegeton, which has the power to sow discord, is Moloch. And it's an owl on a person's body with angel wings on a wolf.
How do you spell the 63rd demon from what? I just want to see a picture of this fucking thing.
Lemegeton, Lemegeton.
And Andros?
Andros?
Is that the name of the demon?
It doesn't say. I don't see anything.
I just wanted to see a picture of it. I'm just, like I said, I wanted to try and understand. As I'm looking at the list of the demons, I don't see Moloch on there. This is from the 72 demons from the Lesser Key of Solomon, correct?
Yeah.
So good. You can continue. I don't mean to throw you off, my friend.
Ashtoreth. Do you see Ashtoreth?
Ashtoreth?
Ashtoreth. Yeah, but Moloch is the owl head, basically.
Yeah.
Ritual sacrifice to their idols.
Yeah, like I said, it was hard for me to find a reference to the owl. I saw the bull's head. It was the Moloch definitely came up for ritual sacrifice of children for me, but it was a bull's head on the body of a.
Yeah, the bull's head is occultic too.
Yeah,
the symbol of the bull shows up. Makes me curious about Red Bull, and they have the wings on the bull, just like the wings were just on that Moloch figure, and the wings are on Baphomet. Red Bull. Getting them unclean spirits to party.
That's it, man.
But Eve, the serpent becoming Satan, happened in Revelation 22. He sees the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. The ancient serpent. So ex post facto, whatever. That's how the association between the serpent and Adam and Eve being the devil was that verse in Revelation that referred to the ancient serpent as the Satan. And a little more on Satan, his further obscured, like all his different titles have been further obscured by the legend of Lucifer, the fallen angel who appears in the Apocrypha, which is a collection of deliberations on the meaning of the Torah. These were written by anonymous Judaic scholars, visionaries, and mystics who hid their identities behind ancient rabbinical authorities, ancient rabbis, to lend credibility to their arguments and to their legends. So for that reason, Orthodox Judaism disowns those texts, but the idea of Satan as a fallen angel persists to this day, and it comes from that. It was Christian theologians who argued that the fallen angel in Isaiah 14:12 is in fact a figure called Satan, but for Judaic scholars, they don't accept that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and this is interesting too. Gets into the Kabbalah a little bit. In the Kabbalah, the original Judaic book, there's a parallel universe to our own, and it's named the Kelipot, Kelliot, and it is made up of the shells or husks, the leftovers, the remnants of earlier worlds that God destroyed when he saw that they were unfit and imperfect.
Talks about parallel universes.
Parallel universe is an old idea, and modern science is just starting to bring it out, which is an interesting concept that modern astrophysics and mathematics, they're reaching the same conclusions. Like, they don't know, and their concepts and what they're pushing, like the Big Bang, is like a Kabbalistic model. Parallel universe is a Kabbalistic model, but it's the tip of modern science.
Yeah. Like the knowledge was passed down, and
or they're
now
hijacked.
we've got the technology. Now to kind of prove it and find it.
Yeah, well, that's the catch, is that they originally discovered the smallest material, which was the atom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where modern science starts to complete the circle back to ancient religions, because as they're digging into the atom, they realize, oh, it's not made up of physical material. It's like these little frequencies. And when you observe it, it doesn't do what you just observed. And then when you don't observe it, like when you observe it, it behaves differently. But that's where string theory comes from, because they're still trying to figure out what is the essence of existence. So it didn't end with the atom. They just discovered as they dug into the atom, oh, this isn't anything. It just goes back to geometry and numbers and frequency being at the heart of existence. So I think it's really interesting. Modern science is kind of completing the circle back to ancient religion.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, so the Kelipot, that other universe, is the one that the devil is thought to reside over. And this gets into CERN.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
CERN.
but
I remember you say something about CERN. Tying it all together with the atoms and CERN.
Yeah, man, because, let me finish this. So in the cosmic scheme, in the dark spirit is, even in this cosmic scheme, the dark spirit is said to be powerless to extinguish our divine spark that animates us, or to sever our connection with the creator. So that evil in the parallel universe, according to Kabbalah, is still not powerful enough to worry about, right? So the idea that Satan is out to steal our soul it's foreign to the original teachings. It's not there. That was church made up.
We need the state and the church to save us.
Yeah, I think that's enough on the devil. He's basically just made up to weaponize and control people. And so practicing real occult and magic is probably what Jesus was actually doing.
I mean, I grew up in a Baptist household, pretty religious. I know you grew up in church too, or going to school, right? Like a religious school. A lot of your friends grew up religious. I remember, that being terrifying to me when I was a kid, right? Just the concept of the devil and going to hell and Satan and stuff, and it really did have a huge impact on me and the way I acted and things I felt guilt over. It really does. It's a very powerful concept, especially whenever it's taught to like young children like that, and very effective method to shape someone's entire life. Being that you're indoctrinated at such an early age. Just that concept alone was always something that was horrifying to me growing up. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy to think about. We like scar our children with that type of shit as they're growing up. Is it really is a pretty fucked up concept that if you do the wrong things as you go along in life, you're gonna end up in this eternal place where you're just burning for all of eternity, right? And then you have Satan that's constantly pulling you to do these negative and evil things. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm letting you talk. I'm looking up these things on CERN real quick. I didn't think to make notes on this either. It just popped up.
Yeah, you just talking about the religion being used to control people. It's a very effective way to weaponize that concept.
Yeah, and so here it is. CERN, back to the atom and how they don't know nothing. Let me read what CERN has on their homepage.
Okay.
The logo of CERN as well is a bunch of sixes. If you look at the logo, it's like 666. Weird. Okay. Why they would choose that? Like, oh, that's perfect. There's like a million. Just go to CERN.com. You'll see the logo.
I'm looking at it.
What is the nature of our universe? What is it made of? That's what's on CERN's homepage. And I thought we already knew. So they're coming out and saying, look, we don't know. And we're still trying to figure it out. Antimatter. Antimatter is like the opposite of matter. That's the parallel universe. That's the Kelly pot. This is all on their website. So more weirdness about CERN. It's shaped like a hexagon. Hexagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the mountains that it's built in Switzerland, those in ancient tradition are referred to as portal to the underworld. Yeah. And there's a lot of electromagnetic activity there, some really strong ley lines, from what I understand. And what they're doing with the Hadron Collider is what they tell us is that they're trying to recreate the Big Bang. And they could potentially
on a small scale so that we can analyze those particles and how they react.
Yeah. But the hexagon and recreating a Big Bang and discovering the secret to the universe, the conspiratorial thread is that they're trying to create a portal to Saturn, because on the top of Saturn is the hexagon. Have you seen that?
No.
Saturn's hexagon. At the North Pole of Saturn is a hexagon, and it's shaped like a hexagon. It's just an anomaly. Scientists can't figure out why it's shaped like a hexagon. CERN is also shaped like a hexagon and placed in this part of the world that is referred to in Greek mythology.
Cassini?
Yeah, man. Yeah, so the conspiratorial thread is that they're trying to open up a portal to this underworld to the parallel universe, to Saturn, because Saturn is Saturnalia. There used to be a worship of Saturn. That's why the black cube of Saturn is a thing. And Mecca, Islam, Muslim, whichever one it is with Mecca, but every year they go around counterclockwise a big black cube at Mecca.
I'm looking at the hexagon on Saturn's moon.
No, it's on
Oh,
Saturn.
no, it's on Saturn, excuse me. On Saturn itself.
Yeah.
Those look pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And, from the Cassini imaging team, excuse me, they say it's just a current of air and weather features, that share similarities, or like, I guess, kind of like what a hurricane is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But just that lasted decades is what they're saying it is.
Yeah. So Saturnalia, Saturnism was, I think, Satanism, super, super ancient, because there was a worship of Saturn and the black cube, and they worship it at Mecca. It's part of that, because a cube on its side makes a hexagon. So there's the connection between Mecca, ancient religions, the worshiping of the black cube, the religion of Saturnalia, which is mentioned in my notes somewhere, the hexagon on top of Saturn, and then CERN, shaped like a hexagon, trying to recreate Big Bangs and discover the nature of the universe. All very odd. And also, check this out, the statue in front of CERN is the goddess Shiva. You know about that?
Lord Shiva? Yeah.
Yeah, the goddess of Shiva. And she's the goddess of destruction. She tried to destroy the universe. That's what she did.
Why the fuck would they pick that as their...
Why would they?
Yeah. Like, why did they say they would put that? What was their explanation for that?
I don't know. I didn't find one. It's just there. 666 as the logo with Shiva, a statue
In the Hindu
of her.
religion, this form of the dancing Lord Shiva is known as Nataraj and symbolizes Shakti, or life force.
Life force.
As a plaque alongside the statue explains, the belief is that Lord Shiva danced the universe into existence, motivates it, and will eventually extinguish it. Okay. That's pretty fucking dark. That's on there. This is on CERN's webpage.
Yeah, dude. They don't hide it, man.
Carl Sagan
Strange.
drew the metaphor between the cosmic dance of the Nataraj and the modern study of the cosmic dance of subatomic particles. Okay, well, that ties in. That makes a little sense. The statue was made in India. The original sculpture was a wax model with blah, 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 blah. All right, it's just telling us how it's made. But yeah, so that it will dance the universe into existence, motivates it, and will eventually extinguish it. Well, I mean, even science does say that, right? That eventually that the universe will come to an end, right? There is a point where it's going to be extinguished, so to speak.
Yeah,
So I'm just
expanding.
playing devil's advocate looking at that, but it is very strange that, they chose that as the fucking statue to put in front of it. Like, I'd rather you have something a little bit less ominous there as you're playing with the particles that make up the universe.
Mm-hmm. Shaping it like a hexagon. So you mentioned the horns about the devil. The earliest surviving record of a shamanic or magical... Hold on, this isn't it. Oh, this is... It's prehistoric cave painting dating from the Paleolithic world in France. Depicts a man dressed in an animal skin with the headdress of antlers, appears to be engaged in some form of ritualistic dance. Some have suggested that the figure represents the horn god of fertility cult, survived in Europe until the Middle Ages, and is the origin of the Greek god Pan. Others propose as a source that the Christian devil acquired his hooves, horns, and tails. But the painting is more than historical interest, for it's the earliest example of ritual magic. So that's the earliest example of where the devil with the horns come from. The horn god of the European pagans had its counterpart in the Sumerian supreme deity Marduk, who again was neither good nor evil, but he allowed evil to exist in the guise of the god Baal, B-E-L, I guess would later be conquered and turned to Baal. So in time, the two deities became one, Bel Marduk. This new deity demanded human sacrifice. Yeah, with the decline of the Sumerian Empire, the peoples of Babylonia and Assyria degenerated in idol worship, and their magic became corrupt and self-serving. Vishnu is its preserver of the universe, but Shiva's role is to destroy the universe in order that it can be recreated, this time without its imperfections.
Once again, that's fucking weird. Don't put that in front of CERN, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Don't put that there, man.
That's some bad juju you putting in front of that fucking large hadron collider.
Dude, I know, man. I heard that they did a ritual when they opened it up too, when they started.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
so-
website, they show you what the fuck they're doing though. Like you can look at right now. They're not doing anything, just a shutdown, no beam, but you can actually see it in real time. Test they're running and stuff.
Dude,
Not that I'm way too stupid for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's eerie. I'm
Oh,
stupid enough to put it to tie it together and say that this shit's pretty eerie.
Here's Saturnalia that came up in my notes. The birth date of the Christian Messiah, December 25th, came from the Mithraic cult and the Roman feast of Saturnalia. That's all it said, but Saturnalia was a real religion, a worship of Saturn. That's where the black cube comes from.
Yeah, I looked it up while you were talking about it, so I have a visual reference to go along with. Did you see that?
This is weird. Even the iconic image of the Madonna and child, do you know that? I had to look it up. The woman just holding a baby is apparently a famous image. That was taken from the Egyptian myth of Isis and Horus. And then we've got our celebrity Madonna. What does Madonna mean? It means something.
I don't know. The Virgin Mary, a picture, statue, or medallion of the Madonna, typically depicted seated and holding the infant Jesus. An idealized, virtuous, and beautiful woman. There you go.
Yeah, I've got some history on where the word glamour comes from, too. The canonical Gospels were written several hundred years after the Gnostic Gospels by scribes who had no real knowledge of Jesus' teaching. That strategy dates back to ancient times when a conquering nation would adopt the god of its vanquished enemy. So while these images... Pan. That god of Pan, that's where that comes from. The god Pan, the ancient figure of sexual potency, was demonized by the church. Original pagans saw nothing sinful about sex. The church, sensing its authority being threatened by these practitioners, took action and made sex only legal through the sanction of marriage. So the sanction of marriage was an act against the original pagan practice, based off the god Pan. And legend has it that the Templars were also custodians of the Cathar treasure, which included the Holy Grail, the cup that Jesus used as the Last Supper. It was also said they were privy to a secret that could shake the foundation of the church, namely that Jesus had survived the crucifixion to marry Mary Magdalene and father a child. The bloodline is thought by some to survive to this day, creating a myth that has formed the basis of recent revisionist histories like Holy Blood and the Holy Grail and the Da Vinci Code. Proof of this royal bloodline was believed to have been encoded in stone at various sacred sites, including Solomon's Temple, which had been the Templars' base in Jerusalem, and the Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, where the remnants of the order fled after their persecution in 1307. So here's the paragraph about the word glamour. It has to do with the nuns and the monks who were sexually repressed.
Mm-hmm.
They would manipulate that energy because they would start to show like that energy want attention, right? And it'd be demonized for that because you're acting on the nature that God forgave you for, right? So let me just read it, words it better. During his visits, Grandier, the name of him, whipped the nuns into a frenzy of religious fervor, and he soon had them renouncing their vows and vying for a place in his bed. But the conflict between their passions and their oath to remain faithful is too much for the psychologically unsound sisters. Jesus died for those sins, and here they were betraying their Lord, deriving pleasure from it. Nuns writhed voluptuously on the ground and groaned in gruff demonic voices, but none significantly exhibited signs of paranormal powers, only like a sexual neurosis. It was a perfect example of a magical technique of entrancement from which our modern word glamour is derived.
Hmm.
I didn't know glamour came from sexually repressed nuns that were going crazy.
That's a very interesting origin of a word.
Yeah.
They had sex with this dude, just couldn't, or they were repressed.
Yeah, they wanted. He was whipping them up in a frenzy, you know. Yeah,
they wanted to fuck him, but they couldn't. So they just going fucking crazy and just writhing on the floor, speaking in tongues about how they couldn't fuck this guy.
Yeah, and then Aleister Crowley gets involved. He actually, Dion Fortune was a lady who was pushing the modern magic movement, and Aleister Crowley came in and actually like wrote the rituals, and he was the guy with the game plan that put it into work. So Aleister Crowley has a connection to like the direct modern magic Satanism. Just throwing that in there.
He got it from this woman.
Yeah. Looking at my notes, I feel like that's all I have. I mean, there's definitely more stuff to read, but there's just so much.
We're just scratching this. I mean, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
It's not like we have a limit on the number of podcasts we can do, and we can always come back to this stuff after we understand it a little bit better. And I might find some more stuff on Bohemian Grove. That was just kind of my initial dive into it this weekend after we talked, Friday or whatever it was, Thursday or Friday. And
okay, there we go. Sorry, I hit stop recording.
I hope that other one can saves. I think it should.
Yeah.
Takes a while to upload.
You'll have yours, at least you'll be able to Dropbox me if not, but
yeah. But like I said, I might find some. Yeah, we just scratched the surface. I might find some more stuff up on Bohemian Grove. Definitely some weird shit goes down there. So a bunch of the elite of the world get together in the middle of July every year and party and look at some weird ass plays where they burn shit in front of this giant owl statue. I'd say that is just all crazy in and of itself. But
Burning Man, dude. Last thing, I took a screenshot from this book. Burning Man is set in a big pentagram. Did you know that? The Burning Man Festival? It's in a big pentagram, dude.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and they burn the effigy at the end of the whole thing. It's a big ritual where they burn the effigy, but that goes back to Wiccan practices of setting up. I can't goddamn find the picture.
I got a picture of it. I got to pull it up on my screen.
I just need it because it'll help me not stumble over my words. But yeah, that's an old Wiccan practice of setting up a straw man effigy and burning it, and that effigy represents something. So it's actually a ritual, and nobody at Burning Man has any idea they're part of a huge ritual in a pentagram with a big effigy at the end that they all stand around and watch catch on fire, and they actually write stuff and throw it in the fire, and like stuff you want to forget about. big ritual. I personally think that
I mean, dude, just look at the fucking Pentagon.
yeah, dude. The Pentagon is sacred because what's that? What's the 5? Hexagon?
What?
5-sided shape is a hectagon. I think it's a
Yeah, I think so. Once again, I'm stupid. I don't know. Don't ask me shit like this on podcast.
Yeah.
Pentagon.
The hectagon is the center of a pentagram. Off of each one of those lines comes a triangle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like when I was looking at Burning Man and kind of the picture of the pentagram superimposed over, I was like, dude, this shit's everywhere. You look, it's the fucking Pentagon. You can literally draw a pentagram over that.
It is the pentagram. The hectagon represents the pentagram in occult practices. They'll use it because it's the center of the pentagram. It basically is the pentagram. So weird, you know, why would they build a government building that's so
isn't like it's supposed to
corrupt?
be? Isn't there an official reason for the number of sides it has that they tell us?
Probably.
Yeah, but it is just strange that all this occult symbolism still bubbles up all the way into today's society.
And no one even knows it. So it's perfect. You have just think about Burning Man. You've got all these people partying and they're unclean spirits and they're part of this ritual. I think they're going to all burn at Burning Man. I think they're going to close it in one day when the world's ending, you know, and they're just going to burn everybody and have this massive ritual as shit hits the fan. That's just what I think. I hope not, but
that would be, yeah. I mean, that's quite a fucking prediction. that happens if that happens in a lifetime, hey, if anything, we're living in the end times, huh? Right now.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man. You're a religious person.
Or occultic.
Or occultic, yeah. Yeah, I have fun just shooting the shit with you, talking about some stuff we found.
Yeah, man. That was interesting about Bohemian Grub. I didn't know all that crap.
Yeah, like I said, I'll read up on it some more and see if I come across anything else I missed that we can kind of recap on the next episode. But just another weird ass place where all the elites get together and party, and they are surrounded by this occult symbolism that they say is not occult symbolism,
and they set up the effigy at the end and they burn it, right?
It's actually at the beginning, at the beginning of their to symbolize the kickoff of their weekend. But yeah, that is right. That's correct.
Interesting. Cool, man. Everybody check out our band, Death of Skepsis. The record is By My Hands. Check out our other record that we did called Black Matter Lives by Metamorphicon. All organic hip-hop record. And stay in tune because the next episode is going to kick some ass.
Yeah, what are we going to talk about next episode, Dylan?
I don't know, man. Sacred geometry, numerology, and maybe some Egyptian symbolism.
Okay. I'll start doing some reading.
Cool. Me too.
See everyone next episode of the Illuminati Squatty Potty.
Yeah, Illuminati Squatty Potty podcast. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you on Twitch.
Do a metal intro for us or something.
For this episode, yeah, I'll put a track in the beginning.
Saying in general for the whole show. Fucking put a quick metal intro together for it.
Oh, write one for it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be easy. Anyway, sorry. All right. Later, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.